Welcome to the Lila Life Show. I'm your host, Linda Andrews, and you've tuned in to the right place to uplevel in your life and business. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Lila Life Show. I'm your host, Linda Andrews, and I have an exciting episode for you today, all about recovery, restoring mind, body, and spirit. We have Jhoel and Jade Gaona here from Restore Hyper Wellness, based in the West Palm Beach area. They are a husband and wife duo. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Stoked to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. So welcome to the show. And today we want to dive in hearing a bit about your story, how you got started with Restore, and why you feel this is such a powerful tool for your customers and members. I am a client of Restore and love going. My husband and I's favorite date day. We just actually had one last weekend. So welcome.
Go for it.
I'll lead. Okay. So Jade, my wife, she's been a pediatric intensive care nurse for many years, and she was looking for a way to channel that energy and that enthusiasm behind nursing into something maybe a little bit different. And Restore really found us, right? So that's the kind of interesting part of it. So she ends up starting to work at Restore as a nurse, and I know there was a lot of hesitancy initially because she's like, how do I go from like saving kids' lives to giving people IVs, right? And it's like, but I said, stay open-minded. We're both very health conscious. We're both all about like health and wellness, taking care of our bodies. And she ends up starting to work there, and she like falls in love, right? So every day she'd come home, she's like super bright about the whole thing. And I'm like, what's this place all about, right? So at the time, we were actually both in preparation for an Ironman race. This was back in 2019, and it was our first Ironman event. I mean, I've done a lot of different races. It was her first triathlon ever, but that's just how she rolls. So anyways, she invites me in to start coming in to Restore. So I made it like a weekly practice. So on Sundays, I'd come in for cryo, and then I would do the sauna. So I call those the dueling dragons, right? You got the extremes, the cold and the heat. And I started realizing as I did this for about 4 weeks that my body just started feeling so good. Like my recovery, my ability to just produce more energy throughout my workouts, my sleep improved, my cognitive function started to improve. So there was a lot of different things happening beyond the physical. And that's how I found it, but it was really through her. And anyways, kind of fast forward a little bit. This was about 4 to 6 months prior to our race. I started doing the IVs. I started doing compression. I started doing stretch. So now I started to dive into this rabbit hole of hyper wellness. Like, what is this all about? And come race day, we're in Boulder, Colorado, which is amazing, by the way. It's beautiful. And we're out there. And I remember being at the start of the race. And I know I can tell you this because you're an athlete. When you're about to start an event, the adrenaline, the emotions that kind of come over you are pretty insane. This was the very first time that I didn't feel that way. I felt
wow.
And I just looked around me and I was like, I'm meant to be here today. And I always say that Restore for me was like a piece of the puzzle that was missing in my journey of health and wellness, because, I had been taking care of my body. My nutrition was on point, mindset wise. I do a lot of that. But then this whole hyper wellness thing was just new to me. And came race day, we had an amazing race. We started the race together. We actually crossed the finish line together. That wasn't planned.
Wow.
And it was epic. So that's a little bit about how I got introduced to Restore. But how about you?
Yeah. So like you said, I was a pediatric ICU nurse for about 13 years.
Wow.
It was like my life. I got out of college, went right into it. I absolutely loved it. When I had kids, it kind of changed for me because it became a lot more, I brought it home more. It was a lot more emotional. And I couldn't really sleep. And it was just very hard on me. So I kind of took like a leave of absence from there. And I planned on going back. And then when it came to me going back, I was like, oh gosh, I was like having anxiety, like for the first time in my life. And one of the owners over at Restore approached me and was like, hey, would you want to just work like one Sunday a month or one Sunday here and there? And I'm like, no, I don't do adults. I don't like start IVs on adults. I'm a child person. Like, no. she was like, well, just come in and like interview. She's very persistent. And so I went in, I interviewed with the lead nurse, and I literally fell in love with it. I was like, this is amazing. Members were amazing. The environment was positive and just incredible. So I was like, okay, I could do one Sunday a month. And then it turned into like one Sunday or 2 Sundays a month. And then next thing I know, I was working twice a week. And then they did ultimately, approach us about ownership and talking to Jhoel about maybe like being more of like an operational regional manager for the centers. And and that's how we got into like the ownership aspect of it. And I'm like so blessed to be a part of it and just seeing our members' lives change. Because on another note, like you don't have to be an athlete. You don't have to be, coming and doing an Ironman or even running a mile a day. We have clients that come in with chronic pain, chronic illness, anxiety, can't sleep, mood, depression, a million things. So that's where like my heart is, to just really help those types of people too.
Yes. I want to kind of echo off of what you're saying. So, and I believe like your listeners will really appreciate this. And when anybody asks me like, how did we get a part of Restore? Like the one word that comes to mind is surrender, because that really is what happened for us. I mean, this was not at all in our plans at all. Wow. Like we were in the middle of building out a completely different business model. And there was a lot of like trials that we had to go through about 2 years ago to get to where we are today. And in that very, very dark place, God, really like just everything like started happening for us. And we had this crazy, amazing moment of clarity. And that's when I was like, okay, I guess we're doing this, and so we decided to dive in, and I came through, like, even though I say surrender, my ego still would get in the way. And I kind of came in through the door kicking and screaming. My wife here, she encouraged me to be open to this opportunity. Cause I had been in business in different occasions where there was an alignment with maybe the partners that I was doing business with. Although we can make business work, I think when it comes to doing life, you have to really understand like what your true core values are. And are you in alignment with those core values with the people that you're about to do business with, or your friends, or, your associates, right? So at this point in time, I said, you know what, this is happening for us. This is an opportunity. So I decided to dive in, and it wasn't until about like month 4 that I understood why I was there. And here's what ends up happening. So my background has been in coaching, and I've been in the health and wellness industry for about a decade. And one of the things that kept me in it for so long was the reason my why has always been to like, I want to help people elevate their lifestyle. I want them to live a life fully, empowered. I want them to discover that they have more potential within themselves. And, when I realized that is exactly what we're doing at Restore, it was an amazing epiphany. I was like, wow, okay, this is why I'm here. My epiphany happened because I was so focused on, and I think when it comes to, a lot of times in life, we tie ourselves to identities, right? Like, this is my role. This is my job. This is like the degree that I have. This is the school that I went to. This is the hat that I wear. And I'm representing this. And we have all these labels. But literally, once you start ripping all the labels off, you really start to understand like your true raw self and why you're actually here. So when I decided to like look at my true raw self from the inside, I was like, my purpose in life is to help people. And if this is the vessel that I'm given and I'm granted to do it with my wife, like, let's freaking go, man. Let's do it. And, it's been an incredible blessing. Restore as a whole, and I kind of want to break it down because some people are like, well, what is this Restore thing they keep talking about? So the best way to describe it, Restore, is it's an ecosystem, and it's an ecosystem of hyper wellness. Now, what is hyper wellness? Hyper wellness is a preventative way of living your life. It's about taking an approach that you don't have to go to the doctor to then start to do the right things in your life, right? So everything in our ecosystem, in our centers, are revolved around helping your body heal itself naturally, right? Cryotherapy. I mean, cryotherapy, it's the modern ice bath, right? Like, that's been around for thousands of years. Infrared sauna, that's also been around for a very long time. Hyperbaric oxygen, that's been around since the 1600s. IV infusions, like all these treatments have been around for a very, very long time. And what's really empowering is when somebody comes in for the first time, we always say the fact that they walked in through the door, that's a victory, right? Like that's a huge victory. 2 is we're going to meet people where they are. So let's say Jade's a guest, you know, and this is the pilot and you're the pilot of your vessel. This is your vehicle and we are your co-pilots. And all I'm going to do is we're going to get a chance to know you. What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Is there anything that's limiting your life right now? And we're going to get a chance to know you. And once we get a chance to know you, then we could dive in. So our approach is a very personalized experience. It's really more about like giving yourself permission to feel well on an ongoing basis, and also like free yourself of judgment of where you are. So when people walk in, that's a big part of like what we have to kind of work with on our guests sometimes, is that they're pretty hard on themselves. And we just kind of bring maybe a higher level of consciousness and awareness to them, that it's like, hey, you know, be aware of where you are, but, you know, celebrate the fact that you're here, and that like, we're going to only build from here. It's only going to get better. Right. So anyways, that's a little bit about Restore, but in essence, if you're taking a bird's eye view of like our business model, we have sports recovery services. So cryotherapy, infrared sauna, red light therapy, stretch and mobility, localized cryo. Then we have the nursing side, which you can talk a little bit more about.
Sure. Yeah. So we do hyperbaric oxygen therapy. So like out here in the real world, we're all breathing 21% oxygen. In that chamber, you're breathing 95% oxygen in a pressurized area. So it's 1.4 atmospheric pressures. And what oxygen does is it literally heals you. So because it's saturating your cells with oxygen, it's literally healing you on the cellular level. So, I mean, it can be good for anything, just general well-being, any kind of inflammation, which we all have. We all have inflammation from toxins, foods we eat, the environment, everything. It's good for any kind of recovery, any kind of like aches and pains you may have. It's been shown to treat long haulers. It's good for aging. I mean, really, if you look up hyperbaric oxygen, the benefits are endless. It's amazing. Then on another note, we do IV drip therapy, which we have a whole array of micronutrients that we give. We also do testing to see what you need, because people come in and they're like, well, how do I know what I need? Well, we can guess what you need and we can make you feel good that way, because if you do get like a B12 and a B complex and things like that, you are going to feel energized. You are going to feel better. But we do go in detail and more depth with micronutrient testing. So we draw your blood, we send it off to a lab that we work with, comes back in about 3 weeks. It measures for about 100 vitamins and minerals and antioxidants in your blood. It tells us what you're deficient in, and then we can kind of customize your drips to meet your exact needs. And it's pretty crazy, because at the beginning, I'm like, okay, well, I feel great just getting like B12, B complex. And then when I ended up doing the test, I was very deficient in vitamin C. It also tells you what your body really likes under oxidative stress. So I was deficient in vitamin C and my body really liked vitamin C. So I started personally supplementing and giving high dose vitamin C to myself. I mean, sometimes I have so much energy, I can't sleep, and I already am very high energy, so I don't probably need that. But no, I just feel good. My skin's better. I'm sleeping better. Like, it's just, everything just comes together. We do 2 other nutrient tests as well, or biomarker tests, I should say. One is a methyl detox test. So that kind of measures for 5 gene mutations. It's a little more in depth. In your blood, you get mutations from your mom and your dad. And then it kind of goes into depth how you kind of absorb vitamins and what you need and what can help you. And then we do food sensitivity testing, which everyone thinks is an allergy test, and it is not. We basically draw your blood also, and in the lab, they slowly add foods to your blood, and they watch your leukocytes, which are basically your white blood cells, which fire off or cause an inflammation, an inflammatory process. And everything starts with gut health. So it's pretty amazing to see like the littlest things, like watermelon you may be consuming every day. Your body may just be caught, like your white cells may be causing that inflammatory process from consuming that. So there's a whole list of like the greens, the yellows, the reds that you can eat. So it's pretty cool.
So good. Thank you so much. And the way you both break that down in a digestible way, it makes it easy to understand and see why each of the pieces are so important. I also just love from an ethos perspective, it's come as you are, and then you meet everyone where they are, and they can just keep taking those steps. And with each of these little shifts, it's a mindset shift. And, you stack these little wins, people are going to leave feeling better than they came in. And then this starts shifting the trajectory of everything that they're doing. And, you come to Restore, you start with one modality, and then maybe you phase in the next modality. And in a month, maybe there's something different that you need. This gets to shift and evolve just as each person is. And I think this helps deepen everyone's intimacy with themselves, really understanding, what do I need? What would be supportive for me?
Also, connect here on the last part of like the ecosystem.
Yes,
Very important for us to mention. We also offer skin treatments like cryo skin, slimming, toning, facials, and hydrofacials. So when it comes to the skin aspect, it's all non-invasive. It's the latest and greatest technology. We have a team of professionals that are amazing at what they do. And they just want to get a chance to connect with people, and they just want to get a chance to help them on their journey. Cause like skin's a big part of like your self-esteem, how you feel, how you wake up, like, and everybody has, like, for example, for me, that was one of the things when I first started, I always felt super uncomfortable because like, I'm a dude, I've never had a facial. All the girls were like, get your facial. And I ended up getting a hydrofacial, and it was awesome. So now I tell all my guy friends about the hydrofacials, and it's incredible experience, right? So when people do walk into Restore, I guess there's so much to offer. So we try not to like feed them through like a fire hose of information. We just really have to dial in, like, so tell us, like, what are your goals? Like, what are you looking to accomplish? And then for them, it may be like, hey, I'm living in like chronic inflammation. I feel, I don't have the energy. So we may start with just like a dose of like, let's start getting you in here for cryotherapy. Let's start with like 3 times a week. Let's see how you feel. One of the things that I do love about any of our modalities is the fact that you have to be present. You're not thinking about anything else when you're in cryotherapy. All right, all you're thinking
you're
not.
Survival, right? Let me connect with my breath, let me connect with my breath, and my body's going to do its thing. So when you go into cryotherapy, if somebody's already done it, one of your listeners, or if they haven't, or they're curious on it, it's one of my favorite treatments because it's super euphoric. So you literally feel like you're snowboarding. You got like this windshield everywhere around you. I know you've done it a few times. The other part of it too is the fact that like your body is going into fight or flight. And when you go into fight or flight, your body's natural response is survival. So what it's going to do, it's going to start releasing anti-inflammatory proteins that are going to help release and relieve that inflammation. You're also going to increase your dopamine levels, your endorphins. You're getting on this like natural wavelength of like, I'm on top of the world, like I feel really amazing. And for people that come in, I always share this with my team. Look at how our guests walk in when they first walk in, and look at how they walk out when they leave. And typically when they walk in, it almost seems like they've been out in battle. They've been out in the jungle for too long, what I call the concrete jungle. And when they walk in, it's like they're in their little oasis, their little safari of like goodness. And then they get restoration and they walk out, and they all have this like similar little pep in their step. They have this like nice little subtle smile. And then for others, this is like a huge accomplishment for them, So we just celebrate the victories. In addition to some of the services, I kind of wanted to plant some seeds here. Also, red light therapy is an amazing treatment that we offer. Red light therapy helps you heal on a cellular level. It's a non-invasive treatment. The San Francisco 49ers actually have it in their locker room. So professional athletes are doing it pre-workouts, post-workouts. It's not just for pro athletes, people that can't sleep well. You're releasing melatonin. It's helping regulate your circadian rhythm. So it's amazing for that. It's amazing for your skin. So we have like moms that bring their teenage kids that like are, maybe they're getting a little flare up of acne. It's going to help with that. In addition, we have infrared sauna. So the sauna is going to be amazing for detox, muscle recovery. It's good to just be able to like put yourself in that state of anything that, doesn't kill you, literally makes your cells stronger. So when you put yourself in that heated environment, it's a really euphoric feeling as well, but also it's happening on a cellular level as you're creating a more resilient self. So it's going to allow you to prevent yourself from possibly getting sick. So that's another key aspect of infrared sauna. Stretch and mobility. This has been very popular with people that are looking to like gain range of motion. Like we have a team of swimmers that come in.
Cool.
They're a little bit more hypermobile, right? So we have to work on them on the mobility that's going to work for them in the pool and off the pool. We also see people that are walking in that are sitting for prolonged periods of time. So our mobility specialists are teaching them ways that they can improve their posture while they're sitting behind a desk on a daily basis. And in addition, how to alleviate some of the pains in their low backs, how to alleviate some of the pains maybe in their shoulders. Also just athletes, right? Coming in, they're just like what I call the weekend warriors. They show up, they're wrecked, but it's all good, man. They're there. We're going to help them get a little better, little bit more restoration. And that's one of the experiences too that I like to highlight because it's a one-on-one experience. It's a one-on-one experience. So it's not just like you with a machine. It's like you with an individual getting a chance to like connect, and you're going at the rate of your own exertion. You go at your own pace, and it's amazing. And the last one is compression. Yeah, compression therapy. Compression is like a really good entry point. Like I'll give you an example. I had a couple that walked in yesterday, boyfriend and girlfriend, and they've both been dealing with some pains and aches in their legs, inflammation, knee pain, hip pain. And they sat in compression for half an hour. They jumped into cry right after, and they literally walked out or skipping. Okay. They were like, their feet weren't even touching the ground. You know? Yeah. So again, it just goes back to like self-care, soul care. It all ties in. And just the fact that it would be unfair for me to mention how powerful it is. You have to put yourself in an environment in order to blossom and thrive, right? So when somebody walks in for the first time, like the modalities are great, but our team is phenomenal. Like we would not be where we are without our team. And we are so grateful and blessed to have them. And, you know, we use our vessel as also a vehicle for personal development for them. So when we're hiring, we both look at the things that we can teach people, right? We look at, you know, do you have a servant leadership attitude? Are you coachable? Are you also living the lifestyle? Are you willing to be, you know, are you willing to get out of your own comfort zone, right? Like, so we look at all these qualities, and when our guests walk in, they are immediately super, super impressed by just the quality of team that we have. So I always say, like, look, the modalities are fantastic, but it's about the environment. Again, the ecosystem part of it. And that's something that I wanted to definitely highlight, because we wouldn't be where we are without our team. And this is also an opportunity as we're growing. This is our second location. We got 2 more in the works for next year. West Palm's in the works, and then Wellington. I know you're excited about West Palm. The gratifying thing for us is that we get to share this with more people, and we get to share with more people that will impact thousands of more people, right? So that's the beauty behind it. Yeah, the business model is cool too, you know, going into more of that aspect of, you know, where we're at in the world. People are starting to ask themselves better questions about how to take care of themselves on a preventative standpoint. So even though during the pandemic, people were kind of like, you know, getting into that panic mode because nobody knew what was going on, and rightfully so. The guests that stayed with us, we never had to close our doors because we're considered an essential business. The guests that decided to stay doubled down on their health, and they saw a whole different side of them, right? And they encouraged their closest people around them to come in. So our business actually grew exponentially while others, you know, were struggling. And, you know, I think, again, blessing for us, but blessing for the people that were there and that got a chance to experience it for themselves. So, yeah, anyway.
This carries over into the team, and I'm sitting there, get there early. I'm watching the team meeting, and I'm like, oh my God, they're in compression boots. And it's like, that's how this permeates into the company, into the team. And I think, you know, we just lived through this healthcare crisis, and yes, we're lucky to be in a position where we're a bit more open, you know, here in South Florida, but you have people, you know, getting connection, meeting that need for connection, really amplifying well-being, taking care of yourself, not only for your team, but also for your clients. And this is where this becomes a different approach to life. You're able to take care of the stress management, anti-inflammation, really taking good care of yourself, getting these antioxidants, these micronutrients. And I feel like it just becomes this different way of life. And I think built in some of this, it's the systems that we're shifting from into the new systems that we're shifting to. You know, we have healthcare. Maybe this is true well care. I don't know. Like sometimes does the word healthcare really hit the nail on the head? We'll say well care. You heard it first. But I think that this is what you give people the access to. And Jade, you made a tremendous shift going from pediatric nursing and then this pivot into wellness-based healthcare that I think, you know, is really to be acknowledged as part of the bigger shift that's going on right now. And you have this idea of healthcare, industry of healthcare, where the people getting into it have like some of the most altruist hearts that I have ever known or seen. And yet underneath that is a sick system. And so, you know, you're taking someone that's really healthy and with a great heart, putting them into a sick system. There could be some challenges there that perpetuate some of the issues that I see something like Restore, like a higher level, being able to be a part of that continued shift. And really inside of all this, there is the value alignment that, you know, Jhoel, I know you have a mindset background. And for me, working with clients, it's so important to see where your values, how are your actions aligning with this, and what are your most important desired outcomes that stem from those values, and continuing to keep that in check, which I think on a macro level, a lot of people, some of it because they had to out of necessity, pick their head up and say, whoa, what do I got going on here? As some of these old systems are breaking down. And, you know, there's this question, and am I in or out of alignment, that just bubbles up and it's undeniable. And I urge people that are listening that whether they are in any kind of position, let's say, just any position that may feel fixed and maybe rigid, to just take a step back and look at yourself and ask yourself, what are my values and are my actions and desired outcomes or goals in alignment? And I feel Restore plays a really important role in this mind, body, spirit, and the way that you're able to support your members as they're potentially doing some of this work, discovery work on their own from the personal development side, but the amenities that you're offering, just a tremendous complement to that work. So the not so elephant in the room, husband and wife business partners, how is that going, working together, you know, the marital dynamic, the business partner dynamic? I would love to hear if you would mind sharing a little bit about that.
Our business relationship is about like ironing, sharpening iron. Like it's all about being open to growing, and we welcome being uncomfortable, even if we don't like having tough conversations, which we do a lot of times when things need to get handled. We always like take a step back and say, we always go back to our why, right? So like, for example, as a family, as a husband and wife, we also have two beautiful kids that, you know, we aspire to show them that they can do anything they want to in their lifetime, right? So that's one of my biggest whys as a father, and not having a father growing up influenced my parenthood now, not having, coming from a single parent household and seeing my mom struggle throughout her life to like give me the opportunity to even be in this country was a blessing. And then fast forward to where we are today, I always go back to grounding of like, why am I doing what I'm doing today? Right. So like, I'm reading this book right now. It's called The One Thing. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And the one thing is one of the things that I took away from it was the quality of your life is determined by the quality of questions that you ask yourself. Right. So as a partner, you know, we have to constantly ask ourselves, like, why are we doing this? Right. And when we have those tough moments, when we come back to our why, all the other stuff just kind of falls into place. We're like, okay, you know what? Let's not sweat that. That's going to take care of itself. So I would say that it's really been helpful in our marriage. And it's also been a challenge in our marriage in the same way. And I think this is my first go around doing this with her. So the one thing I had to do initially was like, look, what happens in the business is in the business, and when we're at home, it stays at home, right? So we completely separate, we compartmentalize our lives like that, because that's super important to set those healthy boundaries, because we don't ever want that to get mixed in. And I think another part of it too is we both complement each other. Like, we're total opposites.
Total opposites.
I mean, we have a lot of the same interests. Like, we love taking care of ourselves. We love our children. We love adventure, but we're both very different. But that is also a really unique quality to, I believe, our partnership, because we're able to work on each other's strengths, right? So like, she's doubling down on exactly what she needs to do. I'm doubling down exactly what we need to do. And we're both rising every single time. And it's not just us. We actually have an amazing group of partners, and going into it with, 3 other very amazing people, but they're also very high strong. You have these high strong personalities. Sometimes you're going to clash here and there. But at the end of the day, I believe it comes down to like, why are we doing this in the first place? And are we on trajectory? Are we on mission? Because you're going to have ebbs and flows. You're going to have ebbs and flows in your performance. You're going to have ebbs and flows in your staffing, especially during the pandemic. You're going to have ebbs and flows in like the way you market yourself. So you're going to constantly be in this ongoing journey of evolution. Like, I believe in business, there's no destination, or in life. It's about basically just waking up every day, and every single day asking yourself, okay, what is my intention today? How am I showing up for my team? What am I actually going to do with that intention? And then you do the best you can, right? So I think from a marriage standpoint, like, we've been able to, I believe, get to a higher level of like awareness in our marriage on communication. That's something I struggled with personally. So it's communication, because like, my brain works at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I think my wife knows what I'm thinking, but she doesn't, right? So I have to be able to like communicate that and allocate those times of intentional, like, hey, let's sit down, let's talk about the business, what's going on, what do you need help with, X, Y, and Z, because we are growing so fast that a lot of times we miss those opportunities. So I think it's helped us in our communication. I think it's also helped us to be more empathetic to one another, not get frustrated, not place judgment, but just, again, raise awareness and say, okay, well, I know that's not her strength. That's okay. I can help with that, or vice versa. And I think another part of it too, another part of it that I believe it's helped our marriage has been just the fact that we're able to build something together as a family. And, it's something that we're teaching our kids along the way, right? It's like we're leading by example. So I think that's like probably the most beautiful thing behind it.
Definitely a whole like learning curve, but Jhoel is like, any single person you ask on the planet, he is the easiest person to get along with, to talk to. He's like a motivational speaker, as you can hear. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm a little more type A and organized and routine. And if anything goes out of that, I'm like, anxiety. So I get in red light really fast, and I'm like, I need to calm myself down. But yeah, he kind of like brings me back to reality. I call him my voice of reason, because I definitely am a little more high strung, and I get a little more stressed out easily. I don't particularly like that about myself, and I don't really want my kids to take after that part of me. So it's really good to have him kind of like ground me, and it's been really good. It's been nice.
What I really see, hear, and appreciate is the way that you two have a way of balancing each other out, that striving for the balance within your own lives, and how you support each other in that growth, in that up leveling. It really feels like, let's see how far we can go. Jhoel, you have such a way of just breaking things down, and Jade, such a compliment. And I really hope that our listeners are hearing what you have to say. There may be certain points that are worth a re-listen here.
It is. I want to say something too. So something I've learned from Jade as a person, she has the absolute first, she's the kindest person you'll ever meet. She really is.
Oh, stop. No, I'm just
she just got like, she will do anything for anybody. And my kids, like, I could tell my older son really takes after those qualities, because that's how he is. He's just a kind soul, and you are as well. And when people walk into a store, I just love seeing the interaction with her and the guests, because they feel so safe. they feel so secure. And I think that's a beautiful quality. I think the other part that I've learned from her too has been perseverance and tenacity. Like whatever this girl does, like she's just going to do, she's either all in or nothing at all, right? There's like nothing in between. And what I have learned myself now, it's because since I didn't have structure in my life growing up, and I was kind of like this young kid with absolutely no guidance, I had a lot of flexibility to do whatever I wanted to do. And when we got into like becoming parents and having a marriage and starting a business, I had to get structure. I had to find structure. And a lot of that was sharpening each other in ways that it taught me to become more understanding, but also had to start putting action into what she needed from me as a partner, which is not always easy. It's not, but it's all good. That's how we grow, right? We grow when we're uncomfortable, right? If you're at the gym getting your reps in, if you're just chilling, taking selfies, like nothing's happening, right? You got to like break the freaking muscle down. You got to get uncomfortable. You got to grow. And I think like that's one of the qualities that I've learned working with her has been extreme tenacity. Whatever you say you're going to do, like finish it, right? And that transfers to integrity. And just being kind to everyone. I think a lot of times when we're not in the best state, we are quick to judge others. We never really know what's going on in that person's life. And that's something that like we're very mindful of. So even if somebody walks into the store and they're hot, man, they're coming in hot and they're just like upset about something, like we really try our best to just meet them where we are and just somehow get them to that place where it's like, this is just a state you're in. This doesn't define who you are. Yeah. I think so part of my role in this organization too, is I love putting teams together. I'm like the galvanizer. I'm like, all right, guys, let's get after it. Putting everybody in the right positions. One of the things that she's helped me with also has been discernment, because I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. Every single person. Like one of our core values in our business is treat others the way you want to be treated, right? The golden rule. And I believe that has been a quality of mine that stems from my upbringing. My mom taught me that, and it's something that I also foster because of my faith. But a big part of that, I think, has taught me to be more discerning of what others' true intentions are. So she can call them out like early on. I'm like, no, this person's great. They just need time to like blossom, right? And sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. So that's where I kind of lean on her for a lot of those like almost like high priority items that need addressing. Because she's got great discernment, whether I'm just kind of looking at the positive side of everything. And sometimes I'm not seeing what may be truly happening. So I think that's another bit that's been a huge learning curve for myself.
And we would just love to support your work. If our listeners want to see more of you, if you could drop those social handles and where your locations are so they can come visit you.
Of course. Yes, of course. So we're located, the Palm Beach Gardens location is off of PGA Boulevard, heading east. It's right where the Trader Joe's is. We're located between Olive View and Just Salad. So you have great food spots to go to. That's our Palm Beach Gardens location. Our social media on Instagram is Restore at Palm Beach Gardens. And then our Delray location is Restore at Delray Beach. That location is located off of Atlantic Avenue, heading west. We call it like the pastures of West Delray. You're like way out there. So it's Lions and the Atlantic Avenue. And then we're in the process of building out our new center. So it'll kick off next year. We're excited. We're coming to you.
Yeah.
In West Palm, by the art district there. I believe it's considered the Antique Road or something like that.
And even if you're not in South Florida, I know there's locations across the country. I know this was the #1 hottest franchise of last year. So there's places that people can go to visit, whether you in South Florida or other locations. And this is a little plug for South Florida. If you need to have some grounding, you want to make a little vacation, set yourself up with one of the local hotels and then get yourself a little day at Restore. I think you'll be feeling restored and great that you made that decision. I really feel like if you make the time on a visit, and truly South Florida, or like I said, a different location, you'll be happy you made that self-care time for yourself. I know you have an offer you're going to share with our listeners. And then also, before we do that, any final thoughts for today's episode?
I would like to just say one thing too, like just because for some people, they're like a little overwhelmed to come through the door, intimidated, and they're like, oh my God, what am I walking into? Just come, just take a deep breath, walk through the door. We're going to help guide you. We're going to help tell you what you need, or what you we think that you need, and you're going to help us, and like, we're going to help each other. Come.
Yes. Yeah. Also, just want to put a little bookmark too. If in case you're listening and let's say there is no Restore near you, I would still highly encourage you to do things that will put you in a better state on a daily basis, right? You don't need to necessarily go spend, like your money on a specific device. You can literally just go outside, take a walk. The sun's free. Take some deep breaths, like get into some practices that are going to put you in a better state. Diaphragmatic breathing, right, on a daily basis. Whether it's gratitude journal, whether it's taking cold showers, just change your state, and you're going to see that your life just starts to change, right? And I think the reason why a lot of us struggle at some point in time or another, as we're starting to like get to a different wavelength, it's we look at like where we want to be so hard that we forget to take one little step today, right? So take that one little step and maybe just be like, you know what, the last 30 seconds of my shower today, I'm going to crank it left all the way. Here we go. And you're going to find that like, wow, this is amazing. You get exhilarated. Your body starts to change. Your body is the vessel to your mind and your spirit. So we got to get your body right. If you get your body right, your mind and your spirit are going to start to follow. So I would definitely encourage folks to, continue best practices every single day, nourish yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. For those that are local, we love to invite all of your listeners to come in on us for a personalized tour. We want to get a chance to know you. And in addition, we want to throw some services at you so you can experience it for yourself fully with no commitment. And yeah.
And I know you brought up the cold shower thing and being able to take some of these action steps. The cold showers in our household have escalated to plunge points, which has become this egging each other on who can go into the coldest rivers and lakes when we're traveling, and this ongoing plunge point challenge that we both encourage each other in. It's pretty funny. And it's not just in travels now, it's even when we're at the beach, wherever, like it's a get your plunge points. But the cold showers, the lymph health, I just can't get enough. I feel like if you're not doing that, you got to be doing that. It's an instant game changer. Wake yourself up, get going. And wherever you start, you start with your one thing, pick your one thing, and it just builds. And then you'll get your next one thing, and that'll build. And it's one shift and the next shift, and you both are an embodiment of that. And I thank you so much for being here. Thank you all so much for Thank you all so much for tuning into the Lila Life Show. If you found this particularly resonant, please share, and we will catch you next week on the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of the Lila Life Show. Be sure to share, like, and comment. Tune in next week. And if you're not already a member of the Lila Life Collective, you'll want to be. So take a look in the show notes and be sure you sign up today. Have a beautiful day.